All right, so we're joined from the Butler Snow building right there on I-55 in Ridgeland, Mississippi by my friend Miya Bates, Alderwoman at large with the city of Gluckstadt. We got our seniors with us here today at Velma Jackson High School, and we appreciate you so much for taking some time to talk about civic engagement and voting in city government. And we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, you and mine alma mater, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School. Germantown High School, the Academic Option Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for fitting us in your super busy schedule today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we obviously want to talk about all the things you do in the city of Gluckstadt, how, all the importance of local government and everything. But just give us a little background. Your Madison County Schools graduated from Madison Central, went and also like me graduated from the University of Southern Mississippi, and then got a master's at Mississippi College. So take us through that experience. Talk about what you did in high school. Kind of how you used your senior year to prepare for that transition, and how that transition was kind of maybe had some difficulties being a high school student to a college student.
So my transition, I felt like very prepared when I went to college. I mean, I feel like all the AP classes, all the courses that I took at Madison Central really prepared me for the college world because they kind of start early on, like, hey, you got to be able to write papers, you got to be able to learn how to public speak. And so all of that just really helped me be a little bit more prepared for college. I didn't really struggle until like junior year until I realized I have to study because I knew all that stuff. I learned it all at Madison Central. So studying, if you get your studying habits now, it's going to take you all the way through. But like I said, it wasn't that the work was hard. It's just I need to put more time into accounting and learning the different theories and principles behind it. And once I kind of got that, I'm like, okay, can't have fun all the time. I don't know all this, and so I got to kind of sit down. I got to focus, and that way I can get my curriculum in. What they say, work hard, play hard. So definitely enjoyed college life a lot. Love USM. I bleed black and gold. I've trained my kids to bleed black and gold. And so Southern Miss teaches you more than just, hey, you need to have an education, but it also teaches you how to give back to your community. And they instill that in every single subject, whatever you go into studying. And I just really appreciate going down there and learning about community. And I think it's really formed me into who I am now. So when I was at USM, I was a Delta. I came through the Muni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. I also was a Dixie Darling. I've danced all my life. I was on the dance team at Madison Middle to Rosa Scott to Madison Central, then up to USM where I was a Dixie Darling. And now I still kind of teach. I don't teach as much now because I have a lot going on. But I still kind of teach and I still keep my toe in the dance world. So that's really fun too. And I think dance has taught me a lot with how to deal with people, teamwork, and how do you navigate those difficult conversations with your teammates. So it's a lot of life lessons that I'm trying to instill in my kids now that I felt like were very important. And as I look back, they've kind of shaped me into who I am today. So
Yeah, and that's kind of what led you, I believe, to recently elected to the city council in the city of Gluckstadt. So just take us, through that process. What led you to seek office, and kind of how it's structured in the city of Gluckstadt.
so I like to say that I wasn't really led to seek office. It kind of found me because I was one of the original incorporators for the city of Gluckstadt. So when we first started, there was an initiative to be able to incorporate before I was a part of the initiative, and it failed. So they were looking for other people to come in. I had just moved to Gluckstadt, just started my job as a staff accountant at Matthews Couture Lindsay, and that's where I currently work now. And they knew I went to USM. They knew I was on the homecoming court, and they needed somebody that was not going to be afraid to go knock on the door and say, "Hey, I need your signature to be able to incorporate." And so that's how it kind of started. It was like we were the citizens for Gluckstadt, and we were trying to incorporate the city by talking to people, asking them what they want in a city, what they didn't want in the city, and what they didn't like right now. And that's how it kind of started. It's just really we wanted to protect our community. And so one thing led from another, and 4 years went by really fast. And I just decided I was going to run again. At first, I was like, I don't know, like, especially in January during the qualifying time, I was like, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? I was just really torn. So then I was like, the last day, like 2 days before the deadline, I was like, I'm going to do it. So I got in there, signed my name on the dotted line, as they say, and the rest is history. And so now the first term was appointed. We were considered appointed to the board, and we were probably the only appointed politicians or whatever you want to call aldermen in the area. We're the newest city of the state of Mississippi. And so the next term you're elected. So now I'm officially an elected official.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
And I think it's so important because you talked about you went to the citizens and asked what they want in the city. And I
Mhm.
just cringe when I have people tell me they don't know who their mayor is, they don't know who their city council person is, they don't know who their county supervisors are, and but they still complain about things, but they don't know how to get involved. So
Yeah.
what sort of things does a local government handle? Because everybody wants to complain about what goes on in Washington, D.C., but that is, what goes on in Washington, D.C. has very, very little to do with the things that a city council would handle. So, what are some things that a city council is going to handle on a day-to-day basis that affects our lives every single day?
So the in the city of Gluckstadt, the Board of Aldermen, there's two parts. So you have your mayor and then you have your board. Well, your mayor is the person that kind of runs or oversees the daily operations of the city government. So he's basically if you're in an office, he's basically the CEO of the government. So he's over all the police officers, he's over all the city clerks, he's over all the public works and building officials. And the board, we are the people that create the policy or we make the rules. So a lot of things that we look at, I like to reach out to different citizens and say, hey, what's your thought on fireworks? Fireworks has been like a dramatic thing in the city of Gluckstadt, which you would never guess that fireworks, not a big deal, but it's a big deal. Like those people are kind of crazy. But um just to kind of see what the citizens take on it. Do you want to see a tent in your city limits? Do you not want to see a tent? How do you feel about nail salons? Do you feel like we have too many nail salons? Should we put a limit on them? And so any kind of policy that comes through for us to vote on, I'm going to reach out to some citizens or business owners or anybody that it's going to affect to see what their take is on it. Would it be positive or how would it negatively impact that business or anything like that? So the board, we look at the policy, we try to make really sound decisions. I'm not one to vote yes on something unless I know that I have support because I'm an auditor by trade. So I have to have that evidence and documentation. And if I feel like I have a good sound evidence where I can look at it and I can run the numbers and I feel like it's gonna have not gonna have a huge impact on our community, I'm all for it. But if I have questions, I'm not gonna vote yes.
Yeah, and
So,
and it really is, how you want a city run. City government and national and federal government are completely different. And I think people kind of muddle the two way too much because G. McGee, our friend, our mayor in Ridgeland, has also been on this platform and he talks about all the time. I don't care about people who they're voting for president. I'm caring about what they need as a business owner, what they need as a resident, what we need as an infrastructure. And you're going to have to work with people that maybe on a federal level you're different, and that's fine. But if you're living in the same place, a lot of things are going to affect you that maybe don't apply to somebody else in another part of the county.
that's right. That's right. So one of those things is we're working on an infrastructure. And you hear a lot of things about infrastructure on the state level and the national level, but in Gluckstadt, there's one thing. We have one road that leads to the highway, and everyone uses that road, not just Gluckstadt citizens. So infrastructure is a really big deal for us, and we're hoping that in this legislative session, we might be able to get some kind of appropriation to be able to widen that road out because it does affect everyone in the county also. So,
Yeah,
okay.
and and we'll talk more about voting here in a minute, but that's why it's so important these young people start to as they graduate from high school, they need to be registered to vote. They need to have their you need to have their voice heard because like I said before we started recording, I had a guy, I live in Flowood and I was talking about I forget what it was. It was something to do with the infrastructure. And I said, "Well, that's going to be a job for the new mayor." And this guy didn't even know who the mayor was in the city we live in. And it's so important to understand that because who's in the White House doesn't have jack crap to do with the roads in your community, with the titles on the land taxes, or city ordinances that are going to affect your everyday life. Whether you're going to put a red light at a certain intersection. So
Right.
it's very important for these kids to understand that being knowledgeable of county and local government is in a lot of cases more important than who you're electing in Washington, D.C.
Right, that's very true. And in Gluckstadt, we invite anybody to come to our meetings. Our meetings are all on YouTube. So if you ever want to go back and catch a meeting, you can get back on there and rewatch what we talk about. A lot of our stuff is really, we're kind of getting at, it's not very political to me. It's more of we
Yeah.
need the basic need because we're such a new city. So it's like, how are we going to handle police protection? Do we have enough police? Do we need to, what other support does our city citizens need? What do our businesses need? And so a lot of it's just those basic needs that we're trying to make sure we're filling every day. And how we're going to do it. Are we going to contract out with the county? Are we going to try to do it on our own? Do we have enough funds to do it on our own? So there's a lot of moving pieces, but we're getting there. We've moved so fast, faster than what our 5-year plan was when we first incorporated. So it's kind of crazy to see actually how fast we've moved. Because looking at the old 5-year plan that we submitted to the court to be able to be incorporated, I think it said that we wouldn't have a public works department until like year 5 or 6, and we have multiple people in our public works department. So it's really I call it a unicorn. And
Yeah, and I
another,
don't think people
yeah.
understand how important public works is to where you live because, I mean, look at the city of Jackson with their water issues, and that was all a
Mhm.
public works issue. A bad public works department can make your life absolutely miserable. So
That's
having a
true.
good local government to oversee a great public works department is vital to quality of life, and that's the word that our friend G McGee always uses is quality of life, because the role of a local government is to affect quality of life. And one thing about that is the thing you hear right now in the news a lot is property value. So
Mhm.
the local government does a lot to make sure that property value stays high because you want people to keep moving to your area. You want them to spend their money in the city, and then those taxes go to your budget to where you can put those into things like public works and police protection and roads. So talk a little bit. I know you're a big numbers person, so talk a little bit about how that works when you go into a city and spend your money. Those sales taxes go to the city or the county in some cases, and that goes toward the local government providing things for the citizens.
Right. So Gluckstadt is a unicorn. And when I say it's a unicorn, because when we're looking at our public works department, we don't run our own water. Bear Creek Water Association was already established in the area. So that's one less thing that we have to kind of worry about. And we have a really good relationship with Bear Creek. And so the water portion, we don't have to worry about that. But as far as the sales tax goes, majority of the area that was incorporated in the city of Gluckstadt is commercial property. So when you come in, and I don't know if any of y'all been to the new Zaxby's in Gluckstadt that just opened around Christmas time. But when you come in, you come buy, a wing meal from Zaxby's. Well, we get just a little bit of a portion of that money goes back to the city. And so right now, Gluckstadt is seeing an increase in sales tax diversions where the other cities around us seems a slightly lower decrease. And so we're praying and hopefully it'll continue to project upward. Because last year we kind of saw a decrease because there's a very fine line between all the shopping centers that we have in the city of Gluckstadt and those owners raising the lease, raising the rent, and then those business owners can't afford to operate. So we really look at that very closely because if they can't operate, then there's less sales tax money coming into our city. And we want to make sure we pride ourselves on like all the small businesses that have come into the city, and we want to keep them around because we think it's unique. So that's one thing that allows us to be able to operate the way we do is our sales tax money. And our sales tax money is probably more than some small cities that are our
Absolutely.
population. So, and that's what's really kind of kept us afloat, and it's allowed us to be able to have a low millage, which is a tax rate. So your property, I don't know, do they know about tax rates and millage? Have y'all learned about millage yet?
I'm sure
Not
they have
yet.
an economics, but that's something
Okay.
they're going to need to know. We
Get
had we
on.
had a bank guy yesterday come and talk to us, but being able to sell your home for more than you bought it for is part of that, and that's such a big deal
Right.
for people to move into an area.
Yeah. So you're on your property taxes, we have one of the lowest in the area. And the reason why we're able to have such a low property tax is because of our sales tax divergence. And so we try to be very business friendly to allow the companies and small businesses for sure to be able to come into the city and open up a business. And we try to, through our Gluckstadt Business Alliance, we try to patronize those businesses and kind of keep them connected. And I feel like the Business Alliance alone creates a community for us. Because right now we don't have anywhere to really gather except for a large plot of land. So, but that's coming too. We will have a park in the next few years. So it's
Yeah,
coming
and
too.
that's another thing is the recreation aspect, creating places for families to gather and be able to create youth sports and recreation for people of all ages is always a big deal, and that is part of the city government. Now, talk a little bit about the mayor's youth council there in Gluckstadt because that is a great way for students to get involved in knowing how a government works.
Yes, so the mayor's youth council was formed maybe about a year after the city had been incorporated, and it is high schoolers that particularly live in the area or go to, most of them go to Germantown High School, and they have formed, it was actually a high schooler from Germantown who, Julia, she formed the mayor's youth council, and they have regular meetings, just like we have regular meetings, and they have service projects that they do, and they go to a youth council conference almost, and a part of that is the city gives out a scholarship to one of the youth council members every year. So they've been rocking and rolling. They've been helping us out with some of our health fairs and our Christmas parade and things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to utilize them a little more in the future. Because coming up, I think we have the 4th of July Fest that we're going to partner with the Gluckstadt Rotary Club. And
Oh, cool.
then we also have German Fest, which used to be really big a few years ago,
Yeah.
but we're bringing it back and it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty awesome. So if y'all are in the area around October, German Fest will be back. And if you've never been to it, you should come because we're having
Yeah, I know
German.
it kind of died at COVID. I'm glad it's coming
Yeah,
back. But yeah, I remember even when I was a kid, German Fest was a big deal. So that's cool that Gluckstadt's bringing it back.
yeah,
Now, we'd be remiss, obviously, as we celebrate Black History Month. It's important, and I know you're not about the individual accolades or a look at me type person, but it's important to know that you're the only female on the city council in Gluckstadt. You're the only minority on the city council in Gluckstadt. So I think that goes to show how important it is to not only have representation, but to have your voice heard.
right.
Now, you guys are not doing, I mean, it's embarrassing what goes on in Washington, D.C. You guys are not in there fighting. You're not in there name calling and pointing fingers at each other. You find ways to work together. And at the
Hmm.
end of the day, you're all there with the same goal on how can we make our city better. But, you also bring a unique perspective. So I have so many kids that say they want to do something, but they're scared to take that leap to make their voice heard because I'm sure people have told you, well, they're not going to listen to you because you're a black woman. They're not going to listen to you as just a bunch of old white men. So, if you're ever in that space, and I think all of us are going to find ourselves in a similar space, even if you're not an elected official, how do you make your voice heard when you know you are the only one in the room that has any type of voice?
Well, how I lead is I like to listen first and then take notes and then ask questions. And I think they all know that about me. I'm not the first one to speak up because I want to listen and then I want to observe the room. Because if there's a citizen out there that looks like they may not agree with it, I want to observe the room to see what their intake is. And that's probably comes straight from my audit background. Like I want to take in all the information first, and then I want to ask questions second. And they know that about me. I am the youngest one on the board. I have always been the youngest one on the board, but there is one other woman. Her name is Jessie Campbell.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
She's
there's two of
actually a
y'all
business
still.
owner. Yeah, it's still two
Yeah.
of us. She's a business owner in the city of Gluckstadt. She owns a hair salon. So yeah, and that's just how I lead. I mean, I know I'm the minority, but I think it's a lot of value in what you say. And so I try to be very intentional about what I say, especially at the board meetings. And if I have a question, I'm going to first research that question first. I'm going to ask who I need to ask before I go into the board meeting. And if I feel like there's something warranted that the audience or whoever's watching online needs to know, I'm going to say it. So.
Absolutely. And it's all about how you carry yourself. And again, I know everybody's not going to be an elected official, but in any aspect of life, the way you carry yourself speaks volumes. People are going to have a first impression of you. If being able to walk in a room and introduce yourself, being able to be confident when you speak, being able to have those, I guess, sales skills, even if you're not a salesperson, can take you a long way. And it's amazing how much people will listen to you when you have that confidence. Now, I do have a couple of questions from the group. This one, well, both of these are from Morgan Thompson. She's Miss Velma Jackson, one of our basketball players, volleyball players.
Sorry, I can't see your face.
But she asked, what would be something you would say is a vision for defining a unique characteristic of Gluckstadt?
I think the vision for Gluckstadt is to, we have a really unique feel and we almost have like a small town feel. So to find a place for the people to gather. And I think that is going to be the part that we just got $1.5 million on a grant for, and then we got like a $3 million grant to build out some playground equipment too. So I think that's going to be where we first start, where we can continue to have that community and we can host programs. We can host programs for senior citizens because we do have a large senior citizen community in Gluckstadt. And so I think that is my goal, is to bring people together. And I think having that part will do that. But also, it'll also get more people into the city. They're going to come to the park where they're going to need somewhere to eat. So they're going to go to Sullivan's so they can make a picnic to take to the park. So, and that's how I kind of see, if we can get the people here, they will stay and they will spend money and they will see what kind of businesses we have, like the Twisted Turnip. I don't know if any of y'all ever been there. It's really good food, very unique twist on Southern cooking. And I mean, if they would just get them here, they're going to love it and they're going to spend their money in the city of Gluckstadt. So, and that's just our plan, is to have somewhere to gather, to really instill that community.
Yeah, and also a big shout out to my friend Rachel Lee, the owner of Pokestop, her new location there in
Yes.
Gluckstadt.
I saw
Great place
something
to
on
eat.
TikTok about them. I'm like, okay, I can't wait for them to open. But
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's another example of the great businesses in Gluckstadt. This is Kiana May, one of our band members here. She asked, as a black woman, did you face any challenges to get into your current position? And how did you overcome those?
I think the biggest challenge for me was when we were running on election day. We had a lot of people going by. I'm the only person of color out there, and some people flat out looked at me and did this in their car. And so that was very discouraging. But I will say that that was maybe the maybe the second time that I kind of felt like, can I do this? You know? But you just got to remember what your Bible says and trust in who you are. Like God tells you who you are, not people. And so you have to really lean into that, lean into your faith, because you wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be as far as I am if it wasn't because of my faith and because of what God has said. This is for me. Because honestly, I never thought I'd be in politics. I'll be honest with you. I thought I'd be somewhere teaching dance or somewhere trying out for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders or something like that. But I just love dance so much. But I kind of use what I've learned in dance and how to put yourself out there to kind of wrangle in this politic world and being, this is bigger than me. And so that's what I had to really lean into during election time. Is like, what I'm doing is not for me. It's for others. It's for y'all. It's for people coming behind me to say that if I can do it, you can do it too. So
All right, Morgan handed me another question, and she asked, "What is the most impactful decision you have made in this position, and what did you learn from it?"
Ooh. The most impactful decision I've made, I believe, is probably keep trying to keep the taxes low. And it was a risky decision for me because, you know, the revenue versus the expenses, it seems like the expenses are always so much more than the revenue that we can obtain. And in local government, there's only so many ways you can get revenue. And just so that was like kind of hard for me is to not to keep to vote to keep the millage low because I wanted to be able to give those small business owners a chance. But then at the same time, it's just like are they going to be able to make it? I mean, because they keep raising the rent. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it. But I just had to lean into that. And I just prayed. I said, Lord, if we keep these taxes low, I just pray that you pray over the city. So that way we can continue, pray that the sales taxes go up. So that way we can continue to keep a low millage rate, especially for the business owners, because we know what the landlords are going to do. If the millage goes up, they're going to tack it on to the rent and for the citizens too, because I mean, we don't have a lot of residents, like citizens, like neighborhoods in our area. So I just felt like it was unfair to them to raise the millage when we have these large corporations that only pay property taxes. It
Wow.
didn't make sense for me. So that was one of the hardest decisions. And I think it weighed a lot on a lot of people on the board because everybody wants to do the right thing. And I don't fault anybody for that, but my point of view versus somebody else's point of view is completely different. So
Yeah, and that's only fair, but that's why you need multiple voices in a city government. Kiana handed me another one, and she asked, "How did you know that you wanted to pursue this office?"
did it. I really just pursued the office because I wanted to help people. And so I feel like a lot of my background is like in the public service entity. Like I'm an auditor, but I audit nonprofits. I audit single audits, which is like looking at federal funds of nonprofits. So I've always kind of been in that public service arena. When I was little, my mom was a Delta, and all they did was do public service or service projects. So for me, it's just helping the people. And I feel like that's in my DNA. And so I just continued on with it. And like I said, I wasn't I feel like I was chosen for this position. I didn't decide to do this position because if I decided to do it, I wouldn't be here. I would be
Wow.
somewhere else dancing or doing something else. But not in a official like local government. I never dreamed of myself. Like when I was little, I never dreamed of, oh, I'm going to be a politician. No, I dreamed I was going to be a ballerina. But I think the main thing with that is just when you see what your purpose is, you need to follow it and just trust God throughout it. And I'm still trusting God. I'm like, I don't know what your plans are for me in the future. If you want me to run again, that's what I'm going to do. And so just kind of lean in to that and just have all the faith in God that He's going to work it out. So,
That's awesome. Well, we are almost out of time, but there's a couple things I wanted to hit on before we go. The first one is we
okay.
would be remiss if we did not talk about your MPHC experience because we have Coach Daryl Scott with us in here in the room as well, who's a mega sci-fi, and we actually
Okay.
have our art teacher, Miss Davis, who's a member of Munu down there at Sutter Miss. But we have a
Oh,
lot of kids. Yeah, yeah,
hey.
yeah, and also Kiera Drain and Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Francisco, who's are also Delta Sigma Thetas here, but all the
Oh,
MPHC chapters, all the organizations offer different things, but we have several students that have expressed interest in joining no matter where they go to school. But I think there's a couple of a few misconceptions because obviously the step shows and the strutting and the strolling are a lot of fun. You know, the clothes are cute and, you know, people like wearing the colors and all of that is really exciting. And it really does add to a campus culture, whether you're the HBCU or PWI. And, and I know the Moonu chapter, Southern Miss, has always been large, always had some incredible women part of it. But as these kids are maybe considering joining an MPHC, what are some things they kind of need to understand that's not just what you see on TikTok?
it's a lot of hard work. So you just got to have your heart in the right place. Don't do it just because you see them strutting or they're wearing the letters. Like, it's a lot of hard work and you got to be in it for the right reason. So go in it for thinking about how you're going to impact somebody else's life. Like, how are you going to improve somebody else's life? And it could be kids, it could be senior citizens, it really could be, you know, making the city look better, like picking up litter. But you just have to have the right heart about it, I believe. Don't go into it for the superficial things like strutting and doing the step shows and wearing the letters. There's more to it than that. And for my organization, Delta Sigma Theta, they are doing some really great things that, you got to read up on what they're doing, and you can't be a part of all of it because it's so much. And they'll tell you, the Deltas in the room, they will tell you, you will be tired. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. It's so worth to be able to raise the money to be able to help others and other organizations that are already doing great things in the state and in the nation. And I think if you have that servant's heart, you're fit to join any NPHC organization.
Absolutely. Now, as we wrap up, I think it's important. We got elections coming up in November. And I have never in my life told anybody who to vote for because one, I don't have enough sense to give somebody good advice anyway. But at the end of the day, that is somebody's individual decision to make. And again, I don't care who people vote for. People need to have that right. But I have a huge problem when people tell me, "Well, I'm only going to vote for president," or it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be in there. And I always say, I don't care who you vote for, but you need to have your butt in there in that polling place voting for somebody. And
That's right.
especially as we talk about Black History Month, there were people like Medgar Evers that were killed. So these young people could have the right to vote. And no matter who they decide to vote for, that's between them and whoever. But not exercising that right is when things start to fall through the cracks. Because, like I said, when I voted in the city of Flowood city council election, only 187 people voted in my ward. Now, the guy that got reelected does a great job, but if somebody had gotten elected that doesn't do a good job, my first thing I'm going to say is if y'all had voted, this wouldn't have happened.
Right.
And that is a very real concern and a very real issue. So anytime there is an election of any sort in your area, whether it's city council, whether it's mayor, whether it's governor, whether it's state representative, it's not just when you see the media telling you to vote for a president. Yeah, you go vote for the president, but there are so many other elections that everybody needs to be involved in and be knowledgeable of. And if you vote different from your parents, that's fine. If you vote different than me, that's fine. What issues are different for everybody, but you have to make those decisions for yourself and have your voice heard because it's the one time where everybody's vote counts the same. So, if these kids aren't already registered to vote, why do they really need to be implored to be registered to vote once they graduate high school?
If you're eligible to register now, do it now. Do it now. And when you get ready to vote, I always used to read about the candidates. It may not be the candidate in my political affiliation, but I'm going to read about all of them because they're all up here, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, and all of them, make decisions for you. And they should be able to listen to your concerns. And you may not have any concerns right now because you're in high school and you live in your mom's house, but you will eventually. And so I would one of my teachers at USM used to tell us, you need to always read the news. You need to know what current events are happening because as you know what the current events are happening, it trickles down into your local government. So you really need to know what's going on around you and how that's going to affect you. And I would read an article and just ask yourself, like, how does this affect me in my daily life? Because a lot of it does somehow. Like you talk about like all the appropriations from the federal government. Well, that trickles down to the state. And now the state's in the legislature right now trying to determine where that money goes. And a big thing I know y'all probably, and I'm not sure if the students have heard about the school choice bill, but that's a big thing that's happening that's going to potentially affect all of us. So that's one thing I would say, go ahead and get registered to vote, catch up on current events so that way you know what's happening in the world today and how it's going to affect you. And then definitely go out. If you don't know who the people are, get to know the people because you can ask them questions and they're very open to anything because at the end of the day, a lot of the people that are in office, majority of the people that are in office, they want to help our community, Madison County. So they all want to work together to be able to make this community the best community that it could be. So
Yeah, and almost everybody's on social media now. There's no excuse to not find out what people stand for. So it really is never been a better time to learn about who represents you, whether it's on the county level, the state level, the local level, or obviously the federal level. So be informed, have your voice heard, no matter what you decide to do after high school. But I know you got to get back to work, and we thank you so much for joining us, my friend, fellow Jaguar, fellow Golden Eagle, Miya Bates, Alderwoman at Large from the city of Gluckstadt. We thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I talk to you soon. To the top.
All right, to the top.